Linda Nutter worked in an abattoir, then in a milk bar before she joined a band.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. Walk on by.
Joe Camilleri left school at 12 to work in a factory. He had his first band at 16.
Great southern land, in the sleeping sun, you walk alone with the ghost of time. Will it burn you black against the ground, and make it burn with rocks and sand?
Ivor Davies studied classical music and ended up top of the pops. In the world of popular music, you don't need special qualifications. Anyone can have a go, and anyone could make a career of it. You mightn't get paid a heap, but if you're into music, there might be a job somewhere in the business. That's what this film's about, working in the popular music business. And it's in the cities that it all happens, particularly in Melbourne and Sydney. The people who pay to hear bands are here, the companies that make the records are here, and because Australian bands grow up playing live, the venues are here. Playing live generates jobs. Doormen, ticket collectors, managers and electricians, barmen and barwomen. So that in a place like this, there are full-time jobs for 22 people, and all because of the bands who play here.
'Cause maybe there's something that we should know. Maybe there's something that we should know. Yeah, give us something that we can eat, just as long as it's not bright blue. Give us something that we can eat, just as long as it's not bright blue. Because you tell us that we're happy in the darkness. I'm telling you it's time to change. I think it's something that we should know. But you say, let's keep it a secret.
Like any job, it takes time to get to the top. It's been estimated there are 5,000 bands around the country, 5,000 bands all working away hoping for a break. But behind any break is years of slog, eating and sleeping music.
How could you expect me to be waiting? I waited long enough. And where were you? I don't believe this story.
My name's Peter Williams. I play guitar and write songs for the Particles, and I'm a video student.
How did you get started in the music business?
I went out and bought a guitar, and I played through my parents' hi-fi system.
Well, actually, I was about 20 when I first got a harmonica, mainly because it was small and I can sort of go into a music shop, which I found very intimidating, and get one cheap and sort of pocket it and walk out without having to go in and seem very naive about guitars and other big things.
Walk away, you may as well forget being understood. Tell you what's nowhere to change you walk away, does no good. Tell you what's nowhere to change the fact that talking does no good. Tell you what's nowhere to change the fact that talking does no good. Tell you what's nowhere to change the fact that talking does no good.
Do you make a living out of playing music?
No.
How do you actually support yourself at the moment?
Well, the doll, plus a bit of income from the bands.
Are you ever tempted not to play music, to do a straight job?
Well, I got lugged with a SYETP scheme 2 years ago,
and that was only 4 months, and never really had a job other than that, except for beekeeping for 3 days.
How could you expect me to be waiting? I waited long enough. And where were you? I don't believe the stories you've been fabricating.
My name is Astrid Spillman and I sing in the Particles. That's mostly what I do. What else do? I play wood blocks, I play piano and drums sometimes.
Did you ever train to do those things?
No, I took one singing lesson because somebody said it's very important to take singing lessons, and it cost me a lot of money. I learned how to breathe properly in one lesson and that was it.
The Particles have been together for 4 years. They don't play every week, but they set themselves goals, like saving to buy equipment or making a record. For the Particles, choosing to be performers has meant paying to play, a choice made possible by part-time work, student allowances and the dole.
It's sort of idiosyncratic pop music, I suppose.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's pop music, or it's derived from pop music that you hear on the radio, but it's us doing it in our own way. So
it sounds a bit funny.
It's not exactly like all the rest of it.
It's about the things that we're doing, the way we're living. If you live a sort of a slightly out of the norm lifestyle, you have to maybe work harder at thinking about what you're doing and to justify what you're doing, because there's a lot of people who think that to have fun, because people see it as having fun just to be in a band, is not a valid lifestyle. They don't seem to see that the effort that you put into it is massive. And Stephen R.
Missing from this rehearsal is Nikki, who plays trumpet and teaches it to make money. The other important member of the Particles is Steve Williams, who was their drummer and is now their manager. He's the one who organises gigs and watches the money.
I think it's very important that the bands just sort of sit down and think about what their actual overheads are and what those real costs will be. And it's anything from depreciation of equipment to insurance to just any transport, like I said, just anything. Telephone bills, electricity bills, paper for the posters, lots and lots and lots of things, postal costs. I've got a list of maybe 20 different items. It's a business. It's just got its overheads.
Have you had to learn to be a bit of a businessman then?
Yeah, well, there's no way, no one can tell you what to do. Like, most people are, I suppose, fairly pig-headed, and no one can really sort of give, their impression of how to run a business. It's up to the personal application of a person to work out exactly what suits them, what suits the band, and just keeping oneself happy throughout.
Did you ever think when you left school that you might end up being a sort of manager, a business person?
I wanted to be a world-famous drummer when I left school, but...
The Particles normally charge $300 to $400 for a gig. Tonight, it's the launch of a friend's record, so they're doing it for nothing. Steve always deals with the people who hire the band. He makes out contracts and collects the money. He also does lights.
Well, you have to hire the lights, have to pick the lights up. We own a couple of lights. We bank a little bit of money so that we can save on our hire costs in the long run. And depending on the budget and depending on the size of the hall or the place we're playing, depends on the size of the light show.
All the Particles help in the setup. At this level, it's easy for friends to get involved. The music business is one where you start out doing it for pleasure, get some experience, and then think about doing it as work. This is a small gig and great fun. The Particles like to work on a small scale, doing it themselves, keeping control. Bigger gigs mean more equipment, larger audiences, but probably no more money. If they wanted to play most nights of the week, they might have to use an agency. An agency organises where you'll play for a fee. This is the Harbour Agency, one of the biggest in the country. The people here organise tours for Australian and overseas bands like the Police, Devo, Talking Heads. But their bread and butter comes from finding work for the 60 or so bands on their books. Anyone from Split Enz to Spy vs Spy. These are the bookers. They take calls from clubs, from promoters who want to hire bands. A band will get anything from $200 to thousands of dollars. The agency takes 10%.
Chris, how do you all work in this incredible confusion with so many people doing so many different things?
Well, I mean, each person's got their own bands to look after, and you just concentrate on your phone, on what you're doing, basically.
You have to, like...
You don't listen to what's going on around you, you just concentrate on your phone.
You like working on the phone, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the business.
It's in a really...
How did you get into this business?
I answered an ad in a gig guide, actually, 3 years ago.
The booker links up the venue and the band and negotiates the fee. They don't hire crew or equipment, that's up to the band.
No one yet.
Tony Katz.
Yeah, well, that's... you want to use that?
Yeah, they've got to get $300.
Cool. I'll ring him back.
What sort of hours do you work?
Well, I mean, you're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, actually, hours in the office is usually from about 10 in the morning till any time from 7 till 10 at night. And then after that, you go out to the venues and the gigs to see the band. So you could be up till, 2 or 3 in the morning.
You often go to see bands?
Oh, all the time, you have to.
Do you get in free?
Yeah.
Spy vs Spy is just one of the bands Chris books.
Injustice, will you ever leave our land? Injustice, I'll help you if I can. You're making friends and you're telling stories. You're trying harder every day. You're counting change and you're adding dollars. You're trying harder every day.
There comes a time for every band when they have to go into debt. It costs money for good sound equipment, for a good sound man, for lights, for road crew. And the road crews always get paid before the band. Michael Lippold is a roadie for Midnight Oil.
You spend half your time driving in between shows. You might do a show in one country town or in the city, and then you might do a show in Melbourne, then overnight have to drive to Sydney. Pack the gear up to 4 hours loading out, and then get into a truck or a car, and then drive on to the next town. Sometimes it could be 8 hours driving, sometimes only 2.
So do you get paid good money for those really long hours?
No, you don't. When you start working for bigger bands, you do, but not many roadies get to that degree. Most roadies slog around, working those long hours and long days, week after week, month after month, and just stay all just in front of the dial.
Why do they do it?
I don't know. Gypsies. The last of the gypsies, I don't know. Well, we're shooting a film clip today at the studio. I'm about to unload a ton of gear, just over a ton. I'll take it into the studio, take it out of all its cases, set it up, plug it all in, make sure it continues to work while the band's playing over the next few hours, and then when they're all finished, I'll pack it up, throw it back in the truck.
Are there certain sort of health hazards that you face being a roadie?
High blood pressure, nervous breakdowns, lack of sleep, no food. Yeah.
What about all that lifting, that incredible...
Yeah, you get hernias. You got to be very careful the way you lift things. Piles, that's part of the job. Because you do get piles from lifting, and most roadies, you do it for long enough, end up getting piles.
Right.
Not
No
very
comments.
glamorous, is it?
Though it's very much a male line of work because of the lifting, women do work as roadies. Being a roadie is the best way to find out about the business. Many people start as roadies, then specialise in sound or lights or go into management. Roadies learn on the job, and it's not so difficult to get in.
if a truck pulls up at a hotel and you've got a strong back, or you're willing to have a go, and to listen to people, no one's going to sort of send you away when they've got 10 tonne of gear to unload out of a truck and carry up some stairs. They won't send you away. They'll say, you know, if you offer to help, they'll say sure. That's how it happens.
Working alongside Michael is Jeff Overmeyer, a sound engineer. His job it is to make the band sound good. He'll set up the microphones on every instrument. The sounds are mixed and recorded in the control room.
This job allowed me to combine the interests of both technology and music.
If you didn't go and work, say, at a television station or a big broadcasting sort of organisation, how else do you get to be a sound engineer?
Well, probably the easiest way is to work live with live bands in pubs and various other venues, and working live as the sound engineer doing the PA, the sound reinforcement.
In a studio, you have time to get the sounds right. Today it'll take 3 hours, but sound engineers often work late into the night, like roadies. You keep going till the job is done.
What about the glamour of being associated with a rock and roll band?
I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
What do you mean, no sort of sex, drugs, rock and roll?
You pay for it. Yeah, you pay for it yourself. I mean, it's not like the movies or like American show business. And only, you know, once again, that's a very high echelon, or whatever the word is, of bands. Mm-hmm. There's so many 1,000 other bands that you're going to have to work for that they don't see it. So you're going to be very lucky, like winning the lottery, to see anything like that.
It's a
gamble. Especially in Australia, yeah. But you don't do it for that. You're not gambling to win that at all.
For any band, the way of reaching more people and making more money is to put out a record. That's what the Particles did, and again they did it all themselves, from the production to the posters and record covers.
If I was heading only for the top 40, if we were heading only for the top 40, then we wouldn't be able to think about making our own film clips, about making our own record covers, and this sort of, it's just nice doing the sort of detailed projects that we do rather than just sort of full on, flat out, maybe gigging in places, you know, 7 nights a week, killing yourself for it. If you want to get to top 40, you need publicity, which means advertising, which means money.
We'll remain independent, I think. And if we do get to be a top 40 band, it will be independently, and that's a very rare thing.
Well, what do you mean by independent?
Well, independent of a major record company, independent of the promotion and the money.
Stacey called from Blaxland as well. I'll get it on for you shortly.
It's the top 40, which is the backbone of $1 million business, commercial radio. Top 40 play means record sales. Each week, record companies churn out dozens of new releases. Most of them will never be heard. This is the pressing plant at Festival Records in Sydney. There are 5 major record companies with a few small operators like Mushroom and Regular. Altogether, they put out 30 million records and cassettes last year. The record presses at any time are pounding out new records and old ones that keep selling. If you wanted to have a single pressed, it would cost $900 for 1,000 copies. Record presses do piecework. They're paid for every record they press. Watching over the records as they come off the presses are audio testers like Leslie Stevenson.
On the floor, I check them visually, see if I can see anything out there that can be stopped automatically. And in here, I bring them in for a sound check, see if you can hear anything that is damaging to the record.
And if anything is wrong, if you hear a click or a noise, what do you do then?
Go out and tell the pressman to stop the press and change the stamper. So he has to do it straight away.
How long have you worked for Festival?
2 years.
How did you get your job?
through advertising in the paper.
Was it the sort of first job you ever had?
No, it's about the third job.
What else had you done?
I used to be a courier, and then I used to work at Woolworths before that.
Tens of thousands of records are packaged each week. They're stored in warehouses ready for dispatch all over Australia. And if you're looking for a start in the music business, it may not be a bad place to kick off. Warren Costello is the New South Wales Promotions Manager.
Well, I started about 3 or 4 years ago in our Perth branch, just sweeping the floors and packing orders and just trying to learn about the music business, I guess, from the ground level.
So you started by working in the factory. What jobs
Sure.
had you done before that?
Well, I've done a variety of things, nothing I was really happy with. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get in, I'm going to have to go in on the ground floor.
What did you learn while you were working in the warehouse?
Well, you learn a lot about artists, what albums sell and what don't, obviously, because there's a few of those, and dealing with people on the phone or face-to-face.
As promotions manager, Warren uses Festival's art department. It's here promotional material is drawn up, record covers and posters are designed. Like most places that employ artists, they ask for design qualifications.
So if the art department does all that sort of stuff, what does that leave you doing?
Well, my job really is to deal with people on a day-to-day basis at radio and at television, to try and get publicity on the records, to get the radio stations to play them and to get the television stations to play the film clips. So we have a release virtually every week of the year except for, say, late December to mid-January, and that's made up of albums and singles, and they go out to the stations Australia-wide, really.
So each week, Warren visits the radio stations in his area with a stash of free records. Michelle is the librarian at 2SM. She'll listen to the new records and catalogue them. She got her job through work experience. She has no special qualifications.
You must listen particularly to Venetians, Kids in the Kitchen.
Great, good
and of
one.
course, Split Ends.
Fabulous. Have you got any albums?
Yeah, I've got 3 albums. A new one for Joe Jackson.
Wonderful.
And a live album from Pat Benatar.
Great.
And at last, a new Skyhooks album.
Oh, good. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's also a live one.
Great. Fabulous. Thanks very much.
All right, well, I'll leave you with those.
Okay.
And I'll drop in next week.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
See you later.
It's all smiles now, but commercial playlists are so tight, Festival will be lucky if one of these records gets played.
How important is radio and television, respectively, in promoting rock and roll and contemporary music?
Well, probably radio's most important because it's an ongoing thing, whereas television will give you perhaps a break or a lead, but it's radio that needs to go on with it and expose it to everybody.
New records have a slightly better chance on non-commercial radio. And so do you if you want a job in radio. Cassie Plater works for Sydney's JJJ, which plays a wide range of music.
Don't say no promotion. Don't say no promotion. Don't say.
How did you get into this radio station, or how did you get into radio?
Well, it was a twofold thing. It was partly because I was studying a degree in communications, and that involved studying radio. And I was lucky to be able to spend a lot of time working on public radio as a part of that course. And I just found I absolutely loved working on radio and started freelancing here.
As a freelancer, you may only work a couple of days a week, but the contacts could lead to full-time employment.
The reason that working here offers so much is that we play a very wide variety of music. We play a lot of Australian music, a lot of independent music of young Australian bands that often don't get airplay on other stations, well, not until they become big and acceptable and maybe get a clip-on countdown. And we play a lot of demos of bands that are really starting out and have often just recorded something in their bedroom with one microphone.
INXS are one band who began by having their demos played on radio. Now they're riding high in America. They may seem like an overnight success, but they've been going since 1977.
Can I ask you about image? Kirk, seeing you're looking extremely snazzy today, but I'm in ultra. Did you, when you started out, sort of think about the way you looked and start out with a set thought about your music and the way you were going to be on stage?
At first, I think all I thought about was the music. You know, I was pretty much a dag, I think, and and it's just something that you have to develop over the years. I mean, just learning to play guitar or whatever instrument and playing it is not all there is to it. There's you know, presentation, looking good, image, attitude, everything, confidence, and I think that, along with everything else, is something that's developed, you know, over the years.
You've learnt as you went.
Yeah.
What about Australia then? I mean, what do you see as the basis of your support and your success in Australia?
I think to this day I look back at what we've done and I think to myself, hang on, it really wasn't fantastic at all, you know. And I think it was just the support from families and friends and just that the people who actually liked us and saw us play, I think.
The audiences that came to
Yes,
your gigs?
for sure. I mean, there wasn't any sort of hype, there wasn't any money, we didn't have any money, you know, it was all just going out and playing and basically we got ourselves to do gigs and found ourselves gigs and we're really keeping ourselves down to earth.
Another way into the music business is through selling. Each year, Australians buy $140 million worth of music. On each retail dollar, 8 cents goes to the band. The rest to the middlemen along the way. There's another group of people who collect money for music makers, APRA, the Australian Performing Rights Association. If you're a songwriter, APRA will collect royalties for you on your copyright for nothing.
When you think about the music industry, you've got to remember that really the whole industry starts with the song. Without the song, there wouldn't be an industry. So the law protects the song by what's known as copyright, and that's really nothing more than a descriptive term for a bundle of exclusive rights that are granted to the author of the song, not to the performer of the song, but to the author of the song.
So your job is to get money for those people who write the songs and perform them?
We get the bulk of the money from TV and radio stations, but we also get it from places throughout the community that cause public performances of music.
What sort of places?
Well, really everywhere from your local milk bar that might be providing music with through just a radio set, or from, for example, a milk bar that might have a jukebox, to a hairdressing salon that has recorded background music. Everywhere from those kinds of places up to pubs and discos that provide music in a featured way.
Most of the people who work here have no particular qualifications except an interest in music. In this office, there are 65 people checking what music has been played, where and when, and how much the songwriters are owed.
We should stop talking about money all the time because it's not the most important thing. It's not the most important part of it.
Well, what is the most important part of it?
God.
Being able to do what you want to do is more important than money, and being happy and contented with yourself.
Which we always are, you know.
But no one will mind if the gamble pays off. There are lots of other jobs in the music business, from hire merchants to rock journalists. But for any job in the industry, personal contact is essential. So get along to the gigs, read up, and ask questions.
It's what you make of it. I mean, there are opportunities there if you can find them and make good of them. It's like the old saying, you can't keep a good person down.